Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Insta Good Show. It's good to be back. Good to be back in the saddle. And I don't know why that is the phrase I used. I'm not a country person. I don't ride in the saddle, even though I am in Texas. That may bust a lot of myths for you. So sorry. Hopefully, you guys have had a good couple of weeks. This has been insane kind of time. Before we get going, just want to let you know you can follow me at Seth Muse or find me at sethmuse.com and find all my stuff and all the ways to connect with me there. But wanted to let you know today on the Insta Good Show, got a great show for you. Really excited about what we're going to talk about here. To start us off, want to go into a couple. How are you guys doing, by the way? Is everybody doing good? I mean, I'm waiting for some people to jump in here. And so if you're watching later, feel free to drop in the comments, just how are things? What are you struggling with? What's on the agenda this week? What are you working on? Hopefully you're working on some Instagram things. I know the Insta Summit was recent, so hopefully you got a lot from that and are starting to apply it. But for Instagram, I know that there are a lot of things that are popping up and you're putting out fires everywhere. And so what are we doing about Instagram? Might not be high on the list, but I hope it is. I hope it's growing higher on the list because I think it is a very powerful platform. And today we've got some really exciting news for you. So I want to jump into the news, what's coming up on Instagram. Some new features are coming out. 7, 8, 9 new features. It's insane. But I just want to tell you about 3 of them that I think would be applicable for us, that you really want to. Hey, what's up, Rock Davis in the house, everybody? What's up, man? We want to make sure that you're prepared for the upcoming features and kind of changes that are happening, because these could be really cool for creating content and connecting with your people on Instagram. The first of all is that AR filters are coming to stories in a way that they have not been there before. AR filters are huge in other platforms like TikTok and Snapchat, and Instagram is really good at taking other people's good ideas and using them like they made them up themselves. So this is going to be another one of those things. So look for those AR filters coming up. They're going to be really, really great. And what's cool about these AR filters that's a little different is that you'll be able to use these not only as you create content, but on photos and videos from your camera roll as well. That's a cool feature. That is a little bit extra. It's a little bit different. And so you'll be able to like film a video and then add the filters later in the editor. So that's the word. That's what I hope happens, but that's the rumor. That's the word coming out from Instagram headquarters. So really, really excited to talk about AR filters and what that's going to mean. What would be really cool, I think, is if they start allowing creators to make their own AR filters. Then you're going to go next level. And trust me, Neil Smith is going to be the first one to talk about it. So follow him on his podcast, The Social Church. Neil and Aaron are going to talk about it first, for sure. But AR is a big deal, and especially in a time. Think about this in a time where we can't physically really be there, or maybe you can. I don't know where you're at, but if someone would want to feel like they're there without actually going there, AR, VR, these are kinds of things that churches are going to need to start looking at, because as people are afraid of the virus or afraid of, whatever, or just can't get out for whatever reason, as you enhance your online experience, whether that's Facebook or Instagram or wherever, having that VR, AR, so really talking about VR, but having that ability to be in feel like you're there on camera in a kind of 360 environment, that is something to watch, guys. That's a future thing that's coming, and it's probably going to be here faster than you think. So pay attention to that. All right, next item of news, new feature is green screen. Green screen is coming to Instagram. It's going to be like the one in TikTok, where you've seen them. If you watch TikTok, there will be a person on the screen like this, but the background, you can already do it in Zoom and other things like that. But on TikTok, you can put a photo. So they'll take a photo of a tweet and then get in it. And for some reason, they will take their, this is what I don't understand. They take their headphone and they're like, hey everybody, let me talk to you about this thing. And I'm like, you just, it picks you up right here. Like, I don't get that. But they're like, hey everybody, and like, look at this. And they're talking about that, whatever tweet or whatever. But green screen's coming to Instagram because, again, Instagram's really good at stealing great features from other places. So we're going to see that happening soon, which will be really fun. And then last, IGTV ads. You'll be able to run ads in IGTV. The difference being that time limit for video will be a big factor in IGTV ads versus regular Instagram ads or stories ads. And the ability to run a longer form ad may or may not be a good thing. I don't know. It depends on your field, depends on what your product is and how interesting your video is, to be honest. Somebody asked me once, how long should video be? As long as it's interesting. That's how long it should be. That's how long your podcast should be. As long as it's interesting. How long should my message be? As long as it's interesting. Because at the end of the day today, attention, I used to say attention was the greatest commodity. Now I think it's emotional response is the greatest commodity, but it has a lot to do with attention. And if you can't hold someone's attention, then your message is lost. It's gone. It doesn't matter what you said or how well you said it. If you can't hold their attention, they're gone. So IGTV ads are coming. That's going to be something to play around with, and I'm excited to see what that's going to do. I think as Instagram goes forward, it looks like there's a lot of features coming out. I mean, like messenger rooms are becoming a thing for Instagram as well. That's stuff I wasn't even going to talk about because it's kind of confusing. But there could be like 50 people on a call on Instagram. My question is, why would you want to do that? That's a really small thing, so I'm not sure what it looks like, but we'll see. Maybe that could be a really cool feature. We'll see. So that's the news on Instagram for today. Lots of cool features coming out. If you know something happening with Instagram or you have news about Instagram, drop that in a comment and link to whatever you found and share the information, man. We'd love to know what's happening. Okay, so today for the real bulk of discussion, I wanted to get to the FAQ section for today because a common question I see about Instagram is, should you as a church follow your followers? Should you as a church on Instagram follow back the people who follow you? Should you follow businesses? Should you follow your people or their friends even? How should you structure that? Why should you do that? And for me, my answer to this question is yes. 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 Absolutely yes. Unequivocally yes. And I know there's going to be people that will say, well, in some circumstances, no. Well, of course, there's always the exceptions. But I think that it's an exception to a good rule, which would be yes, follow them back. And I have a couple of reasons I wanted to share with you, 3 big ones. There's a couple more, but some big reasons why I think you should follow your followers on Instagram. And the first is the big one, and it is the algorithm. The algorithm tracks as a big factor for your exposure is to not only whether someone follows you, but if you follow them back. If you follow someone, that's a connection. If they follow you, that's a connection. But if you follow each other, that's a stronger connection that the algorithm sees as these people are, it's not a fan or a person or a company trying to gain likes. These are people that know each other. Okay. And so that is where the algorithm is going to take that into consideration and put that person or that account in kind of a category of a strong connection. And if you then comment, interact, like each other's content, it only grows in a percentage of strength that the algorithm is calculating for you. And so as that strength of relationship grows, you will then see more of their content as you scroll through their feed and stories, and they will begin to see more of your content as they scroll through their feed and stories. And that is what you want. You want to be in front of them. And one of the best ways to be in front of them is to just simply follow them back. I mean, it's never going to show you anything to be able to like or comment or do anything that increases your relationship with them if you don't follow them. It's illogical to think that you would have some kind of gained exposure with a person that you don't follow. Instagram's going to go, you don't follow them, so you don't care to see what they do. And I think that if you're a church that has that mentality of we only follow staff or we don't follow anyone back, my question to you is, what's the point for you for Instagram? If your point is, let's just put information out for everybody else, it's going to be a really lame duck kind of strategy that's not going to work very well for you. You may get good followers because you have a lot of them. You may get good likes because you have a lot of followers. You might have a couple of comments here and there and feel like we're good. But I would say that you're missing such a huge part of what Instagram is about, what social media is about, by not engaging with your followers. So I would ask, what's your motivation for Instagram anyway? If not the algorithm, if not these things I'm talking about, what is it? Is it relationships? Is it trying to connect with your people, or are you just trying to get information out? They're not going to really engage with you if that's all you're trying to do anyway. But the algorithm is a big part of why you should follow your followers back. The second one is, it's what friends do. If you're going to humanize your brand and try to be in relationship with your people, like I've been talking about, it's what friends do. It's what you as a church would want to do to humanize your brand with these people, to humanize your church, humanize your pastor, humanize your staff, humanize your programming. It helps them feel like they're talking to an actual human, which they want to do, versus talking to an organization with no face or a personality, which they do not really want to do. And so the more that you can follow them back and being involved, the better your relationships are going to be, because it's what friends do. And here's the extra little bonus for doing that. What I mean, it's what friends do. If you have, let me give you just a real life example. Let's say I follow a church nearby on Instagram, and I might comment on one of their posts, or I'll send them a direct message through Instagram and say, loved that, or what do you think about this? And they respond back to me, and they talk to me like a human being, and they follow me. And then on my post, they even respond, or they send me a message, or they share my story. I feel like I'm getting to know them. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm getting to know who they are. And so if that creates a good feeling in my mind about this church, then, because I know I'm talking to a representative. I know I'm talking to social media. I know I'm talking to the pastor. I know I'm not talking to the whole church at once. But when I decide I'm going to visit that place, and I am introduced to, say, a volunteer or a guest services pastor, in first impressions pastor, or the lead pastor, worship leader, anybody on staff, I'm going to take those feelings that I've created in my mind about this church through my interactions on Instagram, and I'm going to apply them to people who officially represent the church on staff or in a leadership position. And for that person on staff, whether that person was the one I interacted with or not, they benefit from the fact that I have already put some of the walls down in my mind with this church. And that is a benefit of interacting on Instagram and social media in general. So it's what friends do means you're humanizing your church, but you're also like greasing the wheels, I guess, if I could use that phrase, for when you have those in-person interactions. Nowadays, it's just kind of how relationships tend to work when you are getting to know each other. So it's what friends do. I would do it. Third and final thing I'll say, this is a big one as well. Because if you don't follow them, you don't have the ability to share the user-generated content that is so popular and so easy and powerful for so many things on Instagram. A couple of weeks ago at the Insta Summit, even one of the questions was, how do you share things? I didn't know you could share on Instagram. There's 3 ways: story to story, feed to story, and feed to feed, which needs a third party app of some sort to do that. But there are 3 ways to share content. So if you have someone tag your church and their profile is public, you can share to your story. If you find a feed post from someone that's great, you can share that to your story, or use a third party to share it to your own feed. These are things that when you do that and you tag that person, I would always ask permission, especially if there's kids involved. But ask permission. If they say yes, most of the time they're going to say yes. Most of the time they're going to go, wow, that's really cool. You thought what I did or what I said was worth passing on to our whole church. And so now it's like, in a way, I got to talk to the whole church today. That's cool. People are usually really excited about that. So what that does is not only does that boost algorithm stuff because you got DMs going, sharing going, all kinds of great stuff happening that technically boosts that relationship, but in their mind, because you've done it, it boosts your relationship as well. And that is very valuable and often not measurable. But when you share UGC, you are actually turning the camera around to face your people on Instagram. And that's valuable. And so when you can't do that because you don't follow them, you're limiting yourself to some really great content that you don't have to even make. And I don't know why you wouldn't do it. I really don't know why you wouldn't do it, other than, we want to look great all the time. Well, no one really is looking for that from your church. You're not selling a graphic design package. You're selling a relationship with Jesus, and they're going to judge whether or not that relationship with Jesus is worth buying if they want to, based on the relationship that they have with you. And if there's no relationship there, how can they possibly understand it? How could they possibly care? Even if they already have a relationship, why would they want to go deeper? Why would they want to join a Sunday school class or a small group? Or why would they want to start a Bible study? Or why would they want to come more than once a month? Why would they want to volunteer? The relationship has to be demonstrated on social media, and it can't be just what you wait to get when you get here. It has to be part of what you do already everywhere. Because what's on social should reflect what's on happens in real life. And if it doesn't, then they show up and they feel lied to, and that's not great. So sharing that user-generated content, super powerful, really, really great. So those are the three things that I would say about whether or not you should follow your followers. Yes, please follow your followers. Please interact with them. Please get into their world and go get them. Stop putting up the searchlight, the bat signal, and waiting for them to come to you. That's just not the culture we're in anymore. Some will do that, but the ones that are on the fringe or the ones that are lost will not. You have to go get them. And social media is a great way to do that, and we have to do it through relationships, often a relationship with our own people, to find a relationship with another person that is on the fringe, that will not be a believer. That often have to work through our people. And when they're excited about what's going on at church, they'll share what's going on at church easily on social media with their friends that don't go to church or don't love Jesus or don't follow him at all. So all of that's connected, and you can't have a weak link in the chain. You know what I'm saying? So follow your followers. If you're not doing that, I would seriously sit down and ask yourself, why are you on Instagram or social media at all? If it's not to interact with your people. Are you buying ads? Because here's the thing. We think we're getting this great exposure, and you're not organically. You're just really not. Less than 1% of your post, when you post on Facebook, less than 1% of your followers will see your post organically unless someone starts to share and pick it up. So that's kind of lame. And then on Instagram, I think that last percentage is 3 to 5 is kind of the average on your post, but that's decreasing as more and more people get on Instagram. Those types of things are, it's not great. So what are you doing? If you're not buying ads, then why are you on social media? If it's not to be social, I think you're missing the point. I think you really are. I think you need to reassess why you're doing what you're doing, because if you're getting on social media to impress other social media people or impress other churches or impress other pastors and friends to say, look at our Instagram, isn't it cool? Missing the point completely, missing it. So really evaluate, if you don't want to be social on Instagram or social in general, why are you even doing it? So anyway, sorry, I didn't plan to rant on that, but I'm glad I did. I take nothing back. All right, so here's the tip for today. Tips and such. Ask for saves. That is a new thing that I don't see a lot happening. I'm going to show you in our highlight for an Instagram account I've just recently discovered. And one of the posts that we're going to look at, among many, he asks for you to save the post. And I'll show you how. But why ask for saves? Again, when you save a post from someone and put it into a folder, there's folders and categories and all kinds of great things you can do. When you do that, it boosts your relationship in the algorithm. Again, it's another algorithm boosting, relationship building kind of tool that Instagram has provided for you. Now, why might somebody save a post that you put out, or why might you save a post? Maybe it's a carousel with a lot of words in it, and you're interested, you want to read it, but not right now. You want to keep scrolling. So let me save it. I'll come back to it later. Maybe at night when you're laying in bed, you're looking through your save folder. I tend to forget when I do that, but that's what some people do. The other reason would be if you're collecting, say for instance, recipes, a sliding recipe carousel or a post that has a great quote, and you have these folders for these different things that you're collecting, almost like Pinterest. Where you have these boards and you have them categorized for you to collect. And there are collector type people out there. I'm a collector as well, that like to collect ideas and thoughts and graphics, etc. Maybe it is you see a church do a post that you think that would work really well here. We just need to redesign for ourselves. I'm going to save that post for later so that I can create it and recreate it some way. And people do that as well. Or like, oh, this was a great quote. I want to show this and share it to my mom, but it's 12:30 at night and I'm supposed to be in bed, but I'm not, and she's definitely not awake, so I'll wait for tomorrow. There's a lot of reasons people might save a post, right? But when you ask for it, it boosts the algorithm and it strengthens that relationship, and it is a new kind of feature that's really, really cool. But they don't do it really unless you ask them to, and unless they're already a saver. So I would recommend asking for saves when you create a post. Now let's look at this Instagram that I found. It's kind of, he's not new. He's new to me, but the Instagram is The Branding Harry, which is a really weird name. I don't really know much about this guy. I don't believe it's a Christian thing. It's a branding company, but he focuses on Instagram and he focuses on branding and doing Instagram really well. And so I wanted to share my screen, and I know we're looking at the desktop version of Instagram, which I always hate doing, but I'm on eCam right now on Facebook. So what are you going to do? Let's take a look at the Branding Harry. It's a cool Instagram kind of focused Instagram account. Let's share a screen here. All right. Now, so take a look at this. Notice what I've got highlighted there. Save this post and turn on post notifications. All right. So that's another thing you can do too. Just a little freebie here. When you go over here, you hit these dots. Where is it? Post notification. Oh, that's that's up here. So if you go up here and hit these three dots, where is the thing? Oh, I guess you can only do it on your phone. There's three dots up there and it'll say turn on post notifications, and every time they post, you'll get a notification, right? So let's look at what he did here with this post. It's a carousel. How to craft better carousels. Now that title screen always has to be eye-catching. It has to be engaging. It has to make you want to swipe. It's like an email subject line is that first slide of a carousel post. It's got to make you want to click and open, right? So look at his caption here. He says, save this post and turn on notifications. Now on Instagram, to save it, you've got this little bookmark looking thing here. That's what it is. I have now saved it. I know that was really complicated and hard to follow, but that's how you do it. So you follow that. Now, I wonder if I can get to the save posts here. I believe I can. So to my saved post, let's look at mine. I can go, well, maybe this isn't the best time to do this. Let's go back. I'll show you in another video how to get to it, or maybe somebody can post there. All right, so here we go. Let's look at this carousel post. Instagram, how to craft better carousels. Check it out. As you slide through, it's large, easy to read words, not super tiny. I have to zoom in words like we used to put. Thank God that's over. I'm getting older. I already have like 25,000 vision and I can't see anything without contacts or glasses. So even if it's right in my face, I'm like, I've started doing that thing where I'm like, it's like I'm like, oh, that's what my parents do. Oh, cool. I'm becoming them. So these giant words are super helpful. Even though he's got branding, he even numbers his slides. They're 2 out of 10. You can put up to 10 in a carousel. And then you've got here, see more. In my opinion, less is more. Look at that. he did less with smaller words. Isn't that clever? So he scrolls through just a few words. He's getting his ideas out. Follow these 5 tips. All right. Now you've got a little bit to read. He didn't let you read right away, but now you're already swiping. You may as well, so this may be the point where they go, yeah, I'm going to save this. I want to read this, but these are great tips. So let's just go through it. Use more white space. All right. That's the space around stuff like here. There's not a lot going on. White space, it's filled, but there's not a lot to interact with in this graphic, right? It's just read these giant words. Easy. Anybody can do that. Oh, this is even better. Look at this white space. It focuses your eye to one place. I heard one time somebody said that white space in design is what allows your eyes to breathe. Thought that was pretty cool. So that's how I've thought about it since then. But white space is great. Nail your cover slide. We already talked about that. He totally did. It's what makes you want to click and go. Use proper line spacing. So making it big enough and spaced out enough that you can read without being too small. Very helpful, easy on the eyes. Use more contrast. This bright yellow with dark wording, very, very good contrast. And when it comes to design, that's really great. You don't want words that are hard to read unless it's like, there are some artistic ways. Of course, whenever you're talking about design, you have all these rules and then you find ways to break them that makes it good. So these are just guiding principles here, but if you can find a great way to break them that looks good, if you're a designer. If you're not really a designer, stick to the rules. Use a recap summary. So at the very end, you want to put here's what we talked about in this slider. And are you using this one? I guess that's him. And then he has these, like all these different things he wants you to do. He doesn't tell you to do them. He just puts them in there to remind you that you can. That's a subtle marketing tactic, right? Sometimes you don't need to say, hey, go link in bio. Hey, save this post. Just say, save. Like, oh yeah, remember you can do that? As a reminder of what you want them to do. Same way you would put a button, same button in different places, maybe different colors or ways or whatever you want to do down a website, but it really all goes to the same thing. Same kind of principle. So if we look at his feed, he's definitely a strong black and yellow brand. And I love good black and yellow, man. I used to do that for myself. And, more and more people started doing it, which is why I don't anymore. But it's every time I see it in a template or some kind of option to buy something, I'm like, black and yellow. Yeah, I'll buy that. I think that's cool. I just love that combo. But so his brand, his Instagram really stood out to me. And as you can tell, he's basically a Instagram highly branded microblogger about Instagram. And it's brilliant. He's very focused. His brand is clear. His brand is strong. For your church, I don't know what it looks like, but if you don't have a great photographer, these are I don't know if these are real images they've taken or if they're stock, but he's worked them into design where you don't notice or care. I bet that's a stock photo. He cut it out. He's just using assets. There's no photos in here. He's not a photographer by any stretch, but he's using photography in his design in a way that's really creative that allows him to play his strengths while keeping faces out front that interact with the idea he's trying to share. So it's brilliantly done. And I think with churches, we struggle. We're like, should we be photography? Should we be a design? Here's a good example of how to do all that. So I know if you don't have a team of 20, you feel like you can't do it, but I think this is just a small shop, 3 or 4 people, from what I've researched a little bit. But anyway, this is just really great design. I highly recommend following The Branding Harry. He's good. He talks about Instagram, and especially if you want to learn more about Instagram, he's a great resource. I recently discovered him. You see there that others have followed him that you might know. We got Kenny Jahng there has followed him. So, that's kind of why he popped up as a possibility for me. And I was like, yeah, let's follow this dude. There's another one that's Squared Academy that I'll probably highlight here in the next few weeks that the same, that's really good. But anyway, I wanted you to see that because that's a good example of some great carousels. If you look at his stuff, check it out. And he uses the highlights. That's really good. But check out it's like they're all carousels. Every one of them is a carousel. Well, that one's not. But just about every, oh, what is this? Oh, yeah, that's the Black Lives Matter. And then almost all of them are some kind of slider carousel post, because he is all about teaching and guidance and information. And honestly, guys, church, I mean, do we have things to teach? Yes. So using Instagram in this way to teach and instruct and share ideas as a microblog, that's a good idea, guys. That is just a good idea. If you're struggling on how to get your Instagram to another level or doing something different, is seeing every post like a little blog instead of what are we going to post today, or can we share whatever. It takes a little more work. Obviously, the design has to be a little bit better. Well, I say that. You could just get away with, I mean, mostly just words. You know? I mean, we all know how to use words, I hope. Well, that's maybe not true. I have seen the constant struggle of your, and your, or there, and there, and your. Maybe not. But Grammarly is free, so use it. Please, for the love of God, use it. Anyway, that's a great option. And anywho, let's jump back. I want to beat a dead horse here, which is a horrifying statement. So that is the idea for today. Hope you enjoyed a good show, and we'll be back on Thursdays at 1:15. Next week, I want to tell you that we're going to come back with a guy named Joe Chavez. He used to be over social media at Elevation Church, and we're going to talk about Instagram ads and how to run good Instagram ads. He recently came on my podcast, The Seminary of Hard Knocks, and that episode will be out in a couple of weeks. But we're going to jump the gun on that to talk about it a little bit here to help you understand Instagram ads. So next week, Joe will be on the show, Lord willing, and because obviously God's in charge, and he may change the plan, but that is our plan for now, that Joe will be here and we'll talk about Instagram ads to help you with that portion. Because I know it is very confusing. Is it linked to Facebook ads? Do you have to go through Facebook? Do you have to be connected to a page? All these different questions that we may have about Instagram. Yeah, that's confusing. But then what kind of ads actually work on the platform anyway? Should we do stories ads? Should we do feeds ads? Can we use the same content? How does it work? Ugh. And now IGTV is going to let you do ads. So why wouldn't you be confused? I know I sometimes am. Often am. And so as we try to figure this out together, I'm going to share what I know with you, and we'll bring in experts like Joe to help you figure it out, and me as well. Because honestly, when we talk about ads, when I interview people about ads, I'm really asking questions because I want to know. I am not very good at ads. So we're going to talk about that next week with somebody who really is, who has mastered and managed over $5 million of ads for companies and really knows his stuff. You may not have heard of Joe, but Joe he's a real deal. So I'm excited about that conversation. So hopefully you'll be here next week. Thursdays, 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time is the Insta Good Show's regularly scheduled slot. So make sure you're here in this group to be there for that. So any comments or questions, drop them below, and I'll try to answer what I can. And thank you guys so much for being on the Insta Good Show, or watching the Insta Good Show. You weren't on it, but maybe you will be one day. Who knows? Thanks for being here. Love you guys. Have a great week. We'll see you soon. Later.